So namaste, hello, and welcome. Welcome everyone who's joining us live right now on Facebook, on Instagram. Welcoming everyone who is watching this replay. Thank you so much for being here. Today is our 30th day of doing these daily live meditations, with the exception of last Sunday, which was Easter Sunday. This is our 30th day, which is really exciting and something that feels really, really special. And it feels like a milestone that I have personally reached by showing up every single day. And for those of you who have been joining me, it's amazing that we've been doing this for 30 days and really tuning in and connecting with ourselves, with one another, with the entire existence of all that is. So I'm just going to take a moment to light some sage, to clear the space, to send these good vibes your way. So welcome those of you who are joining. May you receive the cleansing properties of the sage. And inviting everyone just to take a moment to really come to this present now, to tune in to the breath, to tune in to the body, to really be here now with your experience. So what I really felt called to talk about today and to discuss and go into is this concept of integration and bringing energies that are no longer serving us to a 0 point. So what does it mean when we integrate? What do we need to integrate? So the nature of this earth and this dimension is that when we come here, we almost defragment. So there's so many parts of us that begin to be defragmented into the subconscious realms, into the darkness, away from the light. So we can consider these aspects of self our shadows, because these aspects live in the darkness. They're not illuminated by the light of awareness. And we need to actively begin to integrate these aspects and bring them into the light. So why I'm bringing this up now is because this is some of the work that's been coming up for me personally. And it's been very interesting because this whole concept of knowledge and knowing and seeing sort of everywhere on social media and people's experience is this intensity to know what is going on at this time. And this big, big desire is something that I have experienced too. So about a week ago, I was experiencing this desire to know and actually going into these really big states of grief because I didn't know, and I felt my attachment to wanting to know. I felt my desire to know, and I really had to begin to let go of that through the release of my tears. And then again, this came up for me a couple of days ago. So we had the really big day of Resurrection Sunday. And then for me, Monday and Tuesday was again this feeling that I still don't know what's actually going on. So this was the ego part of my mind coming into play, coming into the forefront of my awareness. and really playing out in a way that was triggering my emotional body. So I can go into states of profound sadness and grief just because my mind, the ego, the lower part of my mind is telling me that I don't know. And what I actually found out, that underneath this whole experience was actually the grief of separation. Because my experience of not knowing was actually my experience of perceived separation. So this is where that wound really was powerful, where this wound had been so raw for me. So coming to that point and realizing that all of this grief I had been experiencing to my perceived attachment of not knowing was actually my grief for the perceived separation that I was experiencing, which was really, really interesting for me to discover. And then I went into really looking at which part of myself is experiencing this separation. Because I'm not always in this separated state. Many times, and most times, I feel a deep sense of connection to myself, to the God presence within my heart space. So really looking and calling forth the part of me that was having this experience. Bringing to the forefront of my awareness that part of my identity that had been living in the shadow, that had been dwelling in that space of disconnection. So once and it was interesting because there was both a female aspect and a male aspect of myself that had been living in separation. So once I was able to pull them from the grids, and for those of you who are familiar with soul retrieval, this is something that I work with. And of course, I do this work on myself first and foremost. So retrieving these aspects of myself that have been living in the dark, and then bringing them into the light of my heart. And this is how we integrate. We first bring these unintegrated aspects into the forefront of our awareness by asking, okay, which part of myself is actually going through this experience? Which part of myself needs to come into the light of my awareness so that they're not hijacking my experience? So bringing that aspect to the forefront of our awareness, and then consciously and intentionally inviting this aspect into the light of our heart. We can do this through visualization, through verbally saying, okay, now I invite you into the loving space of my heart. And pulling that energy, that aspect of ourselves into the heart space so that it can integrate with Source, so that it can integrate with our being and come into the light. And once that process is done, we're either collapsing, or rather I'm collapsing this energy that is no longer needed up to Source or down into the core of the earth. So just reminding everyone, if you're going through a difficult time, which so many of us are, because this isn't easy. This is not easy. We're going through such deep transformations all the time. The light is entering more and more rapidly into our carbon-based bodies. And it's reaching the deeper spaces of our being. which requires more and more subtle awareness of what's actually going on in our internal world. So if you're feeling any heaviness or emotion, an experience that feels big to you, then it's always a good idea to ask, okay, so which part of myself is really experiencing this? Which part of myself is living this? And can I pull that part of myself into integration? So that's a little bit about integration and bringing all these aspects of ourself back into our wholeness so we can experience the wholeness that we really are. So we can embody the wholeness that we really are. And if anybody needs more support with regards to integrating and learning how to do this process on your own for yourself so that you can begin to empower yourself, then you can please reach out to me. I would be more than happy to support you through that journey of integration, as it is something that we all need to be doing. And the more that we're integrating our own shadows, the more that we're going to see the shadows of the outer world integrated as well. And we're already beginning to see that. Another thing that I've noticed at this specific time is many people beginning to really feel the difficulty of this quarantine, to really find it challenging to remain in a space of acceptance for this experience of quarantine. And I would just like to invite everyone to come back into a space of cultivating patience. And of course, patience is never easy, but if I learned something in India, and if I learned something from my twin flame, is this really, really big concept of patience. And how do we access patience? How do we come back to cultivate patience? Is we come to live in this now moment. We connect to this present moment, because as soon as we come out of this now moment, we come into this linear concept of time. Time begins to exist, and time is an illusion. And then we can come into this cycle or become wrapped up in this feeling of impatience, in this feeling that we are not in control of what is going on. And we really need to remind ourselves that we are always in control of our own experience. We are always the creators of our experience. And regardless of what's happening on the outside world, we have the power, and we really have it within us to decide how we're going to respond. So that just really brings me back to the point that I brought up yesterday in the live, which I heard in another video of a woman speaking that I really, really loved and resonated with so deeply, is this concept of seeing through the lens of benevolence. So can we maintain an uplifted state of vibration? Can we maintain our highest vibration by letting go of these 3D stories? So I'm even seeing leaders in the spiritual communities over Instagram, talking about this concept of enslavement and how we've been enslaved in this world for thousands and thousands of years, and like, how are we gonna, shift this story? Well, the story has no merit unless we are contributing to it and believing in it and seeing the situation in that way. So instead of believing that we're victims to whatever is happening on the outside world, can we decide to actually view things from the highest possible perspective, which is surrendering to the idea that everything is really happening for the highest good, and giving more space for this new earth to rebirth, giving more time for the outside world to organize itself while we cleanse and organize our inner mind body, and simply remembering to just let go of the stories and come back to the knowing that everything is working out for the absolute highest good. And really noticing when you begin to sway from that, really noticing when the mind begins to take hostage again, when the mind begins with the stories again, and when you go back into those habitual patterns of the mind. So this is why meditation is so wonderful, because it allows us the absolute opportunity to recognize when the mind is sabotaging our experience, to recognize when we've strayed away from our heart, from our inner knowing, from our love. So we'll come in to our meditation. We'll take this time to sit together and support one another energetically. We'll now begin to come into our dignified, tall posture. Take a moment to just become comfortable. And I'll invite you to now close your eyes, to begin to soften throughout your entire being, your entire body. So softening through your entire face, softening through your shoulders, softening through your lower belly. Placing your palms comfortably in your lap or on your knees. And taking 3 deep breaths to ground into our body, to release, to let go. Deep breath in. And sighing out the mouth. Deep breath in. Sighing out the mouth. One more deep breath in. And sighing out the mouth. Whenever you feel ready, gently making your way to your natural breath. Coming to feel your breath in the body. Settling your attention on the in-breath, the out-breath, the spaces between the breath. Beginning to tune in to the qualities of your breathing, to the pace of your breath, the depth, the sensations. Having the intention to come into a state of complete stillness and non-reaction towards that which is arising within your awareness. Noticing the state of your mind through the lens of acceptance. So simply noting the quality of your mind at this very moment. Allowing it to be just as it is. As you have an awareness of all the thoughts that may be coming in and going out. Notice any judgments towards your experience. There is no need to judge your judgments. Simply let it all go on your out breath and continue to redirect your attention back to the inhale and the exhale. Feel the sensations throughout your body. The sensations in your lower belly, your tummy, your chest, and any other place throughout the body that is calling on your attention. Simply notice and stay with your experience. Resisting any desire to shift, change, alter what is in any way. Simply allowing the natural unfoldment of your moment to moment. What is pulling you away from your experience? What is distracting you? What seems to be pulling on your attention, on your awareness? Become curious and notice. Allow yourself to feel open and receptive with each breath in, relaxing the entirety of your being. With each breath out, releasing, letting go, surrendering to that which is. I'll invite you to rest a portion of your awareness in your lower belly, the space below your navel, resting consciousness here, noticing, relaxing, softening this space. Tuning into any holding, releasing the holding, allowing the unfoldment of the holding. Stay with your body. Stay with your breath. Continue to hold the present space. Continue to receive the wisdom that is within the body. Continue to anchor and stay in this moment, through the active attention towards your breath. What are you feeling at this time? Is there any longing, any desire that is arising? Can you simply observe it, accept it, without having to react to it, judge it, or change it? Simply witnessing as we cultivate patience, friendliness, compassion, attention. Maintaining that small portion of your awareness within the lower belly, staying with the breath, and bringing another aspect of your consciousness within your sacred heart space. Holding portions of your awareness within these two places, the lower belly and the upper chest, the space in the center of your chest below your throat, right below your collarbones. Feeling the entirety of your being, breathing as a whole. expanding as you breathe in, letting go, purifying as you breathe out. Being open and receptive to all that is arising. And as you remain with your breath, with your experience, if you'd like to receive an energetic transmission at this time, you may wish to say yes. Tuning in to your sacred heart, allowing the internal flame of your holy heart to ignite, allowing the expansion of this space and the burning away of that which you no longer need at this time for your journey. Releasing and letting go of any responsibilities that do not belong to you. Feeling the weight lifted off your shoulders as you do so. Letting go of everything that is not in your hands. Simply surrendering, coming back to the safety of the love within your heart. Coming back to the trust. Allowing yourself to come back to your internal knowing that can only be accessed through your holy heart space. And gently bringing your palms to touch in front of your heart. Taking a moment to bow down in gratitude, to express your appreciation, your thankfulness for that which you are grateful for. And when you're ready, simply rub your palms against one another, placing them over your eyes, and allowing yourself to come back to the space when you're ready. Thank you to those who joined, who received, who sat in stillness, who surrendered and opened to the flames of their holy hearts. And this is really where the magic of our being resides. This is our holy kingdom, our heaven on earth. This is the space of the God presence that lives within each and every one of us. So may you connect with this space every day. May you surrender all of the mind, all of the stories, all of the ego into the holy flames of the holy heart. May you continue to receive all of the blessings that are rightfully yours. May you continue to surrender, and may you continue to love.